K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we're expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at advertise@k98talk.org. The leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
Welcome to Opinion Nation.
And we stand today on the edge of a new frontier.
There is nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured by what is right with America.
What makes us Americans is our shared commitment to an ideal that all of us are created equal.
I, too, am America.
Now here's your host, Bryce Robbins.
My report. All right, but anyways, so today we were expecting Rod Eccles to come on the show, but I guess he got a little scared of the liberal boxer over here. But no, I hope he's okay. We're not sure where he is, but if he ever comes on, I hope he's here. I hope he's all right, and if you're listening, Rod, it's all right. I'm not that scary. But anyways, you know, we were going to be talking about the Clean Power Plan that Barack Obama unveiled, his EPA and Green Initiative, kind of like his legacy, his legitimacy before the meeting in Paris in 2015, later this year. And obviously, I was going to be fighting against the Clean Power Plan. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, I was going to be fighting for the Clean Power Plan. So, I mean, I guess I'll still do it. Without the opposition, it might not be as fun. It might not be as bombastic. But we will make do with what we have, and hopefully Rod will poke his head in, and I can give him a couple blows. But for now, we will just talk about what the Clean Power Plan is. We will talk about what it means for America, and how it's legitimizing our foot globally on the fight against climate change. Now, excuse me if my voice sounds a little hoarse, I guess. I've been yelling at, 11 and 12-year-old children this past week. I worked at a camp. It's called Camp Dream Street. I encourage everyone to look it up. It's in New Jersey. I've been doing it for the past 12 years. I was a camper there. But it's a camp for kids with cancer and blood disorders. And it's a wonderful week-long camp for children, mainly inner-city children who have cancer and blood disorders, to really get a really fun week. But of course, as a counselor, you got to be fun and outgoing. So I guess I was very loud and always yelling and always having a good time. So now my voice is paying the price for it. But anyways, we're going to just jump right in now. There's no more excuses, I guess. And we will talk about the Clean Power Plan. And basically, today's going to be an environmental episode. I guess that's what I always resort to when things go off kilter. So anyways, this past year, Obama has announced his Clean Energy Initiative. Something that seems like it's about time. Kind of long way in the making. You see, it's not even that it's a Democrat idea. It's more so that Republicans have dropped their common sense on this one. Okay, in the 1990s, George Herbert Walker Bush signed into action an amendment to the Clean Air Act. Okay, signed into law by Richard Nixon. That decreased premature deaths by nearly 200,000 and cut chronic bronchitis or potential chronic bronchitis cases by over 700,000. And over the last 20 years, the total emissions of the six principal polluters have decreased more than 41%, while gross domestic product has increased more than 64%. And he was targeting acid rain, okay? George Herbert Walker Bush signed an amendment to the Clean Air Act, a Republican signed an amendment to the Clean Air Act that strengthened it, that prohibited certain pollutants and toxins from being leached into the atmosphere. These pollutants were sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide. And as a result, we saved more than $120 billion in public health costs, which was 40 times what the program initially costed. And we saved thousands of lives. Now, George Herbert Walker strengthened the Clean Air Act. That isn't something that should be Republican or Democrat. That should be something that we can all agree on. You can't breathe polluted air. And whether or not you want to be like Rick and I, always going back and forth on whether climate change is real or not, the notion that climate change existed or was not nearly as popular when President Walker Bush signed this into law. This was just a bipartisan initiative to make sure that Americans are breathing the cleanest air they can. Now let's go back even further. Into the 1970s when Richard Nixon first of all, signed into law some green laws that should land him in the Green Hall of Fame. Obviously, it was overshadowed because of what of a dick he ended up to be, tricky dick. But he did, in fact, leave behind a legacy that definitely started the movement, or at least politicized the movement of environmentalists. And he left behind a legacy of the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, the Environmental Species Act, the EPA, NOAA. He left behind a legacy that would begin the movement for environmentalists politically. Now, what's so amazing here is that I just gave an example of two environmentalists who, two people who took care of the environment, two people who wrote laws for the benefit of the American people and the environment around them. They didn't worry about whether the world was warming or cooling. They didn't worry about what NASA or whoever was telling them was fact, but they did worry about public health. And I think that's where we should draw the line. You see, with coal, we have over 60,000 people around the world, 13,000 of which are Americans, dying as a result of upper respiratory ailments. That is an issue that we need to address. So in the Clean Power Plan, okay, we are cutting back emissions, and we are doing it drastically. 32% from 2005 levels, which is drastic. Okay, so essentially, we are now legitimizing ourselves prior to Paris, prior to when the president goes to Paris to talk about what the global initiative should be for clean energy, and what it should be to reduce the threat of climate change. So the Clean Power Plan, I will sum it up, and then we have a surprise guest who we're actually going to talk to about this. And no, it is not Rod, unfortunately, but he's a guest from the past, and I will introduce him in a minute. So the Clean Power Plan establishes the first ever national standard to limit carbon pollution from power plants. You see, we already reduced other pollutants, as I named before, under George Herbert Walker. Now Obama's trying the same thing with the biggest polluter that we can find, our power plants, which result in 31% of CO2 pollution. So essentially, we already set limits to protect public health by reducing soot and other toxic emissions, but until now, existing power plants, the largest source of carbon pollution in the United States, are allowed to release as much as they want. The final Clean Power Plan sets flexible and achievable standards to reduce carbon dioxide emissions by 32% from 2005 levels. And the good thing is, it's going to save a lot of money, a lot of lives, and a lot of sick days. It's estimated that this will avoid up to 3,600 premature deaths each year, will lead to 90,000 fewer asthma attacks in children, and prevent 300,000 missed work and school days. We are going to be reducing asthma attacks in kids by nearly 70%. Now, we're also reducing premature deaths as a result of power plant emissions by 90%. This just seems like common sense for public health. That's what it seems like to me. It's also going to be saving American consumers $155 billion in a 10-year span between 2020 and 2030 when this plan is going full into effect. Now, we can agree. Coal is bad. It releases more CO2 emissions than any other fossil fuel. 80% more than natural gas and 43% more than oil. And it is a huge driver in, obviously, polluting the planet. So now, ladies and gentlemen, to talk more about the Clean Power Plan, I'm going to bring on Lloyd Kelso, presidential candidate, who to my surprise, was verified on Facebook, which I thought was awesome. Lloyd Kelso is joining us to talk about the Clean Power Plan, his opinions on it, and what he plans to do when or if he becomes president. So, without further ado, I'd like to bring on Lloyd Kelso. Mr. Kelso, how are we doing today?
How are you doing, Bryce? Good to talk to you again.
Oh, it's great for you to be back. I'm so excited for you to be here. So, why don't you tell us, after my long and lengthy talk about the Clean Power Plan, what is President Kelso going to do? First thing in office, the EPA is going to be at his door. What are you doing about the Clean Power Plan?
Well, I think we need to have a clean power plan. I think we need to reduce the amount of fossil fuels that we're having to use in America. We need to be trying to go to more clean energy sources. We need to be going solar with our homes as much as possible. We need to be using wind energy. I know I was just in the state campaigning in Iowa. I've been there 2 weeks so far this year, and both times it has amazed me just how many of the turbine windmills that you see out in the farmland that are producing energy and without any fossil fuel emissions of any type, and just providing lots of energy for lots of people in that state. So we've got to really move toward a energy plan in America that provides for clean energy. One of the things that, in addition to the power plants, is all of the number of air flights. I live about 15 miles from the airport here in Charlotte, which has become a major hub And I know that Charlotte has become one of the most polluted cities in America as a result of all the air traffic and just the amount of emissions that come from the burning off of fuel in the takeoffs from that airport is astounding. They sometimes have as many as 1,000 flights out of there a day. It just really turns the whole sky yellow after a while. So those are some of the things we need to maybe rethink how many flights we have from airports and major congested areas, and try to reroute some of our transportation plans using rail and other types of transportation modes in the future.
Now, here's another thing that the Clean Power Plan more recently began to target. It was announced later that it would be targeting methane emissions. So this is really going after the coal and oil industry, but it's going to be reducing it by 40%. Now, I'm just curious, is President Kelso going to be in support of fracking and in support of, at all costs gaining as much natural gas as possible?
Well, I wouldn't put it at all cost. I think we've got to be smart about our energy policy. I believe the Keystone Pipeline is probably a good move. From everything I've studied about it, it's a positive move that will employ more workers and to maintain it, and will also deliver cleaner natural gas and oil to the southern region of America for distribution and refining, which would, in my opinion, help the overall clean air policy. As opposed to, as far as fracking, I've been in opposition to fracking all along. I don't think that it really is anytime you go down and you start messing up the bedrock of our globe globally, you're talking about water pollution and pollution that comes through the bedrock in the lower water aquifers. You got to kind of study some geology to pick up on this, but I represented a group of people who were fighting against a landfill being located near a river a few years ago. And it's amazing when you go down and consider how much pollutants actually get into the lower aquifers and into the water, and what may go into the water supply here in North Carolina into the lower aquifers may come out in the water supply, say, in Florida. So they may be drinking the pollutants from our landfills.
Mm-hmm. So now, let's dive in a little more on this. President Obama just recently announced signed his name to allow Shell to go drill in the Arctic. And nothing pisses me off more than President Obama, the guy who says we need to leave behind a clean future for our children, yada, 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 the same spiel every single time, signing his name is so hypocritical to me. It really disgusts me. Don't you think that we've had enough oil spills that we understand what happens? And do you think it's a good idea? I mean, what, in your mind, what is the benefit? What is the cost? What should we be doing in regards to Arctic drilling?
I haven't studied it really as closely probably as I should have. Before the show today, I kind of came on at the last minute, wasn't sure what the topic would be today. But it disgusts me that President Obama, over the past 8 years, has really not had an overall policy of addressing the environment in a manner that I would suggest was what he stood for when he ran in 2007, 2008. And we were talking about clean energy, we were talking about solar, we were talking about renewable energy, we were talking about a lot of things at that time. And now he seems to have reverted back to supporting the people who evidently are giving money to the Democratic causes, Shell Oil and various executives, and who support the political process for candidates. And that part of it really does disgust me. It really gets into my craw, because I'm seeing how this whole campaign is working out as far as my candidacy is working. I'm seeing just the Democratic Party basically turning their back on many of the candidates who have worked hard to get to this point and not including them within the process, and then limiting the number of debates. There's just so many issues there. And, are they selling out to corporate interest? I think it doesn't matter whether you're wearing a Democratic uniform or Republican uniform anymore. It seems all of them are indebted somehow to Wall Street. We've got 66 major people who are players who have contributed 90% of the money to the political campaigns in America. And none of them have given any money to me, but we've had to raise our money just from we, the people, ordinary people who, would contribute on our website. But, we're allowing ourselves to become an oligarchy, basically controlled by major corporations.
Now, I couldn't agree more with what you just said. What amazes me is how, people are swayed by the giant, corporate-sponsored media, so to speak. Now, from what seems to be basic fact, and people like to disagree, is on climate change. And, Rick and I on our other show always talk about how, whether or not it's real or not, you're still a jerk if you want to pollute. And I don't agree more with that. And I hate to hear when people say, oh, I'm not a scientist, so I can't answer. And recently, when we had presidential candidate Jim Gilmore on the show and I asked him about it, he gave the same response. I'm not a scientist.
I don't have to be a scientist to know when polluting is wrong. I mean, anyone knows that, and you can go back to just your general kindergarten. You learn, pick up your toys, don't leave things worse than you found them, and that doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that we should not pollute. However, there are enough pollutants when we launch a rocket into space. That is about equivalent to running every car in the United States for like a week when we put that much pollutants out to launch a rocket. So, I mean, there's a lot of polluting going on that people don't think about that is very significant in the overall scheme of how much we're compromising our environment and our climate. And let's don't put all the blame on Americans. We're looking now at China being one of the most industrialized nations in the world with huge amounts of coal and using coal energy to power their power plants with even less regulation than we have in the United States.
Well, what is your hope? What are you hoping for when we see China and Brazil and all these other countries are actually starting to follow in our footsteps? I mean, I think that the clean power plan that Obama has laid out here really sets the standard for other countries to follow. And it seems, that seems to be their excuse. You did it, so we can pollute. Now it seems like we're cleaning up, so they might clean up. So that might be good. All right, we're going to go to break. Can you stay with us when we come back?
Sure, I'll be here.
All right, sounds good. So we're going to go to break, and when we get back, we're going to talk a couple different topics. We're going to talk about how Lloyd Kelso's campaign's been going. We're going to talk a little bit about some campaign finance, and we're going to, swing it from there. All right, I'm Bryce Robbins, and this is Opinion Nation. We'll be right back after this break.
Wondering why you're up early with us on a Sunday morning making a cocktail? News lately got you drinking? Hungover from the mainstream media by Sunday? We are, and we got you covered.
We sure do. We got your hangover cure for those weekly news blues. So sit back, top off your mimosa, and add some Baileys to that coffee.
Take a match to your copy of the New York Times. Light, funny, and oh yeah, news with booze.
And a lot of laughter.
Welcome to Bloody Marys and Broadsheets.
Hey, Hey folks, Slickery Trigger here. I'd like to take a minute to tell you about Rebel Road Tactical. As a defensive pistol instructor, I've had the opportunity to observe many different holster designs and configurations. And one thing is clear. Many of my students won't carry a pistol. Or worse, they'll carry one without a holster at all. Holster designers aren't making holsters for normal people. It seems that most holsters are either an expensive piece of gear designed for Rambo or a piece that doesn't fit or function the way real people need it to fit and function. So, like any good Texan, I decided to learn to form codex and design one myself, one that would fit the needs of average people. The result is the Rebel Road Tactical CRT Modular. The CRT stands for Carry, Range, and Training. Its thin and lightweight curved design minimizes printing and is adjustable to fit just right for superior comfort and function. Check us out after the show at rebelroadconcealed.blogspot.com.
The internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get set again.
Hi, I'm Steve Long.
And I'm Lily Dane.
Are you tired of hearing the same Republican and Democrat banter from the mainstream media?
Does listening to the likes of Sean Hannity, Ann Coulter, Piers Morgan, and Rachel Maddow make you want to jump off a bridge?
If so, come listen to us on Liberty Unfiltered, Sunday nights at 8 Central, 9 Eastern on K98Talk.com.
Join us as we fight for freedom against the advocates of big government.
Liberty Unfiltered. It's not your daddy's political talk show.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
Are we back?
Hello.
Yes, hello.
You're back.
Oh, okay, we're back. All right, sorry, the bumper cut a little quick there. All right, anyways, we're back with Lloyd Kelso, and we were talking green energy, we were talking the future of the clean power plan and whatnot. But I got to give a big shout out to you, Lloyd. Thank you so much for coming on today on such quick notice. Anyways, we were now going to talk about the debt. Now, to me, it seems like the United States, if it was based off of honesty, is a lot more honest than the other economic systems of the world. Most notably China, who's devalued their dollar, and it makes us almost look like a joke. But as we can tell by how they're doing economically, it has not been a joke. We seem to be doing a lot better than them now because, wow, they've lost a lot of money over the past couple months. But anyways, why don't you tell us a little bit about your plan for the debt, your plan to reduce the debt, your plan to attack the debt?
Yeah, their devaluing the dollar actually helps our situation with the debt. That means we probably owe a little less than what we did owe to them, but it's small amount and compared to what we really owe them in terms of trillions of dollars. The last time I checked, the debt was at about $18.6 billion, thereabout. It is an astounding figure when you think about it. I was doing some calculating and just trying to come up with how large $18.6 trillion is, and you can actually, we're increasing that debt, by the way, at a rate of $500 million a day. That's an astounding rate of growth of debt. So that means every 2 days we're raising it another $1 billion. If we wanted to pay that debt off, if we wanted to do it over a period of time, and we decided we were going to pay out of general revenues $1 million a day, it would take us 50,000 years to pay off the debt. That's an astounding thought when you think about it, just how deeply in debt the United States of America is today.
Absolutely. So, yeah, please continue.
So how are we going to attack this? I think we've got to be integrative in our attack to it. We've got to deal with immigration. We've got to deal with the tax structure. We've got to deal with trade.
Now, on that topic of immigration that I heard you just say, have you looked at all into Donald Trump, what he's promoted for his immigration plan?
Well, Mr. Trump appears to be changing some or waffling in his views about immigration. At first, he was like, let's deport all the illegals that are here, using some of his language. And then he has since, I think, moved a little bit more toward trying to be open to a timetable. But I'm in favor of a timetable for us to naturalize the people who are here. We need to work on that timetable and include those who are here at this point. If they're here and they have criminal records and they need to be deported for purposes of criminal prosecutions in other countries, then that needs to happen. But if they're just people who have immigrated here to escape whatever economic or personal problems they may have in another country that's not related to crime, then we should consider how we go about naturalizing these folks and give them some time to do that. I think 6 months to a year is a timetable that I would be promoting, and try to get the Congress to move on immigration and say, okay, let's enforce the immigration laws. If you're here and you're here in 6 months to get signed up to become a citizen, and if you do that, then we'll give you a card that will allow you to stay here until that citizenship is completed over a period of a year or so. And if you don't do that, then you're going to be deported.
So that sounds almost like a policy of, how would I put this? I guess
it's like an amnesty in a way.
Like amnesty, which is pretty cool.
we got to deal with it though, and I don't think you see. I learned something in school years ago, and that was, we should not treat people like they're sacks of potatoes and throw them on a boat and send them out of the country. That's not a good way of dealing with people. They've come here seeking opportunity. We were all immigrants at one time or another. We do need to secure our borders, though, so that we can stop this inflow of people into America unless they are properly documented with a visa with a period of time that they're to be here. I don't know that all the people who are here illegally are going to want to become citizens of America. If they do not want to become citizens of America, then we should enforce our immigration laws and deport those who do not want to become citizens. So, that's going to be my immigration policy, is how I deal with it. I'm a Christian. I believe we should care for the alien people that are here. I think we should look after them to help them to get a start here if they can. If however, they don't want to be really a part of us, then why are they here? And then we need to make decisions about how we deal with that from a legal point of view.
So, I absolutely agree. From what it sounds like, it sounds almost like amnesty for a large extent of the people. You seem to be pretty open to, if you want to be American, let's just make you American, and stop beating around the bush, so to speak, which is respectable. And I hope to see you on that debate stage. It's kind of amazing. This is kind of just jumping ships, but it amazes me that somebody could be running for president, could be doing really well on social media, could be going and attending different fairs as you've been doing, different platforms, and yet they're not giving you the time of day to allow you to come. This amazes me. This is almost as if we have a group, the DNC, who is picking the president, or at least our option for president. And
Correct.
it gives so much control to these people. What do you say about this?
Correct. And we heard it yesterday in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, Bernie Sanders speaking about it and Martin O'Malley speaking about it. So now people even within the party are disgruntled over how it's being done. What you got is someone who is running the DNC, who was formerly a person who worked for Hillary Clinton. So Miss Schultz, Debbie Schultz, is someone who I think, let me just check something here 1 second. I think I posted something on my website yesterday, and she actually worked for Hillary for a period of time, helped run her campaign for a period of time in 2007.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And she's basically had her backside trying to keep any debates from happening until October of this year. And a lot of the debates are actually scheduled after the date for registration of voting, and some of the primaries are already starting. So she's wanting Hillary to glide into this election cycle with her lead and intact, and not allow any of the other candidates even a chance to attack, to come on and debate or share their ideas and get any kind of traction.
Now, what scares me most is that Debbie Wasserman Schultz has so much power.
Yes.
And
it's a tremendous amount of power, because it controls the electorate completely, and decides who is going to be on the stage and who's not. I was at Clear Lake, Iowa, Friday before last, and was there available along with Dr. Willie Wilson, who's a Democrat from Chicago, who's also running for president. Probably haven't heard of him either. And we were planning to actually try to go up on the stage when they introduced the candidates and say, we're candidates too, just to try to rush the stage. But we were stopped by Hillary's Secret Service, so they would not allow us to do that. So, we were basically threatened with, we don't want to have to haul you out of here. But we've heard about what you guys are up to, and we don't want there to be any trouble here tonight. I asked them to define trouble. I said the trouble really started when they pre-selected these presidential candidates without including everyone who had signed up and was on the list. So we had some words, but it's still not solving the problem, and it's a huge issue, and I really don't know how to approach it with the Democrats at this point, except to say that I guess I'll be like Donald Trump, and if I'm not accepted by the Democratic Party, then I'll have to run as an independent.
Now, what I just want to see, though, is a fair election. If people don't like you, that's one thing. But if people never get the chance to like you, that's another thing. And that's what seems to be happening here. And it really doesn't seem democratic. It doesn't seem very fair. And
well, we've got over 21,000 people who've liked me on Facebook so far.
Right, you're a verified page, which is that. I mean, if it's on Facebook, it must be official.
If you look at who's on their stage, Lincoln Chafee, governor of Rhode Island, who has less than 10,000 Facebook likes, and has been, evidently he's running for vice president, hoping Hillary will put him on the ticket with her. And he really hasn't gone out and campaigned or done anything except show up at their meetings. And yet I've been out there campaigning my rear end off and trying to get traction. I got over twice as many Facebook likes as Mr. Chafee, and yet he's on the stage and he's the one getting to do the talking, and I'm not.
It's disgusting. And, you could even see it. It's not just from someone who hasn't been heard. It's from also people who have been heard. Martin O'Malley. I don't know if you saw the video, but the exchange between him and
Debbie
Ms. Schultz was tense. There was tension there because he was calling out the DNC for being corrupt. I mean, that's what this is. Let's call it for what it is. It's corruption. Would you not agree?
Well, it started in Arkansas before Bill ran for president in 1991, 92, and the corruption hasn't stopped yet.
It is definitely something we need to be looking out for, and it's definitely something that needs to be talked about more. I mean, it is genuinely, it's a smear. It's a stain on the what democracy is supposed to be. It's supposed to be that if I want to run in this country for president, it shouldn't be a popularity contest among 4 people from the DNC. It should be something that is based around the consensus of the masses, and they should determine between the people who want to run for president who is the best. And now, obviously, we have people like, I don't know if you saw it, D's Nuts was running for president. It almost made me feel sick that D's Nuts, a 15-year-old boy, got more press attention than someone like you, who's genuinely running for president. That is not good.
I think that's the way the Democratic Party wants it right now.
Of course.
I had some students actually are behind me from Drake University and putting up my signs out there in Des Moines, and we've been putting up signs in Des Moines and all over Iowa, and we've got quite a bit of traction in Iowa now. It's getting started. The number of Facebook likes I've had from the state of Iowa have quadrupled just from Des Moines area in the past 3 or 4 weeks. Well, actually, since I was up there August 15th. So it's really growing. It's really growing in that area. So we still have hope that somehow we can get enough traction to get on the political roadmap and people will see who we are and what we're about, and that this campaign still has a chance. I think America is looking for leadership. I don't want to place a lot of blame on all the corruptions. There's always going to be corruption. But this country needs good leadership, and I bring leadership much like what John Kennedy offered in 1960, good conservative policies, responsible policies, compassionate policies. I have the background of a lawyer who has fought to help poor people and middle-class people for the last 39 years. I have training as a pastor. I have a divinity degree. I have a master's in Christian counseling. I bring empathy to the White House in terms of how I feel about the people and wanting to help people who are poor. I've served on our mayor's chair. I chaired actually the task force on homelessness locally, and I know how we can turn this economy around. I know how we can turn the debt around, and as I mentioned before, we got to do the immigration. We got to deal with trade. We got to deal with tax policy. There's a whole integrative way we need to be approaching the issue.
Right. Now, let me ask you a pretty hard-hitting question here.
Okay.
You, compared to other candidates running, Martin O'Malley and Bernie Sanders, they're all senators, governors, whatever, Hillary Clinton. Why should we essentially entrust you to be the next president when someone who's had the closest experience to being president, or a very close experience being in the president's seat, are running, a lot of them?
Yeah,
Why?
I mean, if you wanted to use that as a litmus test, you would certainly want to elect Hillary Clinton because she actually sat in the White House for 8 years and watched Bill at whatever he was doing run the show, or she ran the show while Bill was doing whatever he was doing, and so you've got all of that in place. I think that what we need is to have somebody from outside of Washington. I think we need someone who I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to be a president necessarily. I think you have to have good common sense, principles about, when you're borrowing too much, you need to know how not to borrow. When you're spending too much, you need to know how to cut your spending. When you're taxing people too heavily, you need to know how to cut taxes. It doesn't take someone who is all that brilliant to be able to run the presidency. It takes someone with good leadership principles and good common sense. I've spent most of my life being a mediator and working with people who have diverse views. I can do that with the Congress. I think that so much money involved in the political process today. if we got the money out of the process, I would probably be the leading candidate right now because I'm the one who's been out there. If Donald Trump had spent as much money on his campaign as far as his financial wealth as I had, he would have already spent over $1 billion. So, I've spent money, and I've tried to put this campaign out there to the people because I wanted the people to have a choice this year instead of just having the same old candidates. Bush, Clinton, same things all over again. I think I bring a lot more to the presidency than what you're going to find with someone like Donald Trump, who seems to feed off the anger of the people. I'm not angry at anyone. My goal is to try to help America and lead America forward, and that's what I will do as president. It's not some sort of ego-seeking thing for me. I would do this job even if it was no pay. If the goal here is to help America, the goal is not to get rich. And so, my goal is to try to get to the White House and be able to get America turned around. It's a huge battleship, and it takes time to turn it. It's not like a kayak you can just turn real quickly. So it's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of laborious work to turn this thing around.
Do you think Joe Biden will run for president?
Well, he might, and if he does, I think he basically is another Washington insider, a lot of corporate interest. He had issues with the abortion pill issue some years ago. He is not a candidate that I would want to vote for. Because of all of his ties with Obama, and what we're likely to be looking at is 4 more years or maybe 8 more years of the same type of principles that have put us more than $18 trillion in debt. We just can't continue to go down this road.
I think that'd be a good topic to start winding down on, but we'll wind up a little bit first. You just mentioned about, the abortion stuff, Planned Parenthood, whatnot. With all of the fervor going around about Planned Parenthood, now it seems to be coming out more and more that these videos were highly edited and manipulated. What is your take on that? What is your take on these Planned Parenthood videos? What is your take on Planned Parenthood in general? And what do you believe should be the future for the federal government's role in Planned Parenthood? It's a heavy question, so I'm sorry.
I'm a Christian. I'm a pro-life person. But at the same time, Planned Parenthood does a lot of good things for America. Abortion is just not one of those things. I would not defund Planned Parenthood. Only about 3% of their resources go toward abortion services, and that leaves about 97% of the resources that they have that go toward good things. I would not defund them, but I would try to do some investigation into the criminal aspects of what might or may have happened. And I think there needs to be a prosecutor, someone appointed to look into this. And the Justice Department, I don't know at this point, has done anything. But we've got to have an active Justice Department, a U.S. Attorney's Office, who will look into and see if there's been criminal activity. If there is, then clean the air. And same thing with Hillary Clinton's email situation. Why hasn't the Justice Department said, okay, there's nothing here and there's nothing to prosecute her for? Because I think there must be something there, or else they would have already told us that there was nothing to prosecute her for. So no statement has come from Loretta Lynch. No one's told us anything about it. There's no special prosecutor been appointed to look into whether or not there's been violations. We need to have an active Justice Department, and I promise you, when I become president, we will have an active Justice Department and look into that, including auditing the Fed and seeing what we need to do to take care of issues where people have embezzled government money and for their own use.
Well, that's obviously not good. We don't want that.
There's been a lot of it, according to some of the reports that have been coming out. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. And from what it seems, with the whole Planned Parenthood, I saw an interesting video. I was going to prepare it for another episode. I don't have it now, so maybe I'll prepare it for next week. But I don't know if you watch his show, Larry Wilmore, the late night show with Larry Wilmore. He does a show about Planned Parenthood, about defunding Planned Parenthood. And he goes a little in depth to it, and he talks about how, like you said, only 3% goes towards abortions, and the main part that people were arguing about, the main part of the video, may have been altered, may have been in reference to something else, and it's kind of interesting, but that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time. Anyways, thank you so much for coming on the show, presidential candidate Lloyd Kelso. Why don't you tell us tell everybody where we can find you, and just any last thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Bryce. And it's short notice, but I really appreciated your invitation to have me on the show. You can look at my president's page at Lloyd Kelso for President 2016. It's on Facebook. You can also look at our website, www.lloydkelsoforpresident.com. I hope you'll give me a like and share some of our posts on there, and invite all your friends to like our page as well. We've been growing. We're over 21,100 this morning. And I think we've got a growing campaign, and we offer a campaign with a moral compass that is going to provide good leadership to America and head us in the right direction.
All right. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Bryce. You too.
All right. So that was presidential candidate Lloyd Kelso coming back on the air with us, and he was talking a little bit about some green energy, some campaign finance, some debt. So if you missed it, go back, because it's worth it. And whether or not you agree, or even if you're going to vote for Lloyd Kelso, or even if you've never heard of Lloyd Kelso, the principle here, the thing that bothers me the most, is that he's running for president. And the media has given more attention to a 15-year-old boy named D's nuts. Lloyd Kelso has legitimate policy plans and, a goal to sit at the Oval Office. He has a genuine plan for that, and he's running for president. He's putting his money, his donations, his time and passion into running for president. And the least the DNC could do is put him on the debate stage, because for God's sakes, he's got more than double the likes of Lincoln Chafee, some old dusty guy running, who is the governor of Rhode Island a gajillion years ago. Who, mind you, was a Republican, then an independent, then a Democrat. And his slogan has to deal with consistency, which is kind of ironic. But anyways, whether or not you agree with Lloyd Kelso, or whether or not you plan on voting for Lloyd Kelso, or you've already made up your mind, we should give our attention to a legitimate problem with our democracy, and that is that we don't know who Lloyd Kelso is because the Democratic establishment isn't letting us. So please, go look him up. Go like him on Facebook. Go share his posts. Go call the DNC. Their number is online. Go talk about it, because the problem is real. This is a problem. This is a threat to our democracy. That we don't know who somebody is, and they're running to be the most powerful man in the world. But it seems that Debbie Wasserman Schultz might be the most powerful woman in the world, probably behind the chairman of the Fed, whatever her name is. Can't even think of a drawing blank right here. I always talk about her. Anyways, so it's quite shocking. It's quite amazing. Anyways, that's all we got for today. I hope, Rod Eccles, if you're out there, I hope you're all right. I hope you're not caught up in another debate and that's why you ditched me. Or I hope you weren't too scared to come deal with the left-handed hook that I got going. But it's brewing and it's waiting for you. So whenever you're feeling good, or whenever you're ready, or whenever you touch base, you're going to get that left-handed hook, and we're going to have a good debate. A good, wholesome one, by the way. All right, that's all she wrote for today. Find me on Opinion Nation News on Facebook. You can find me at Robbins Bryce on Twitter. Tweet me there. Follow me on Facebook, and I'll be back. Same time, same place next week. I will be sitting down with a couple people, possibly Senator Bill Perkins. We will be talking about incarceration in the prison system. Kind of a scary topic and a little morbid, but we'll get to that when we get to that. And also, we will be talking a little bit more about 2016 next week, but I'll leave the second guest for it to be a surprise. So that's all I got for today. My name is Bryce Robbins, and this has been Opinion Nation. I'll catch y'all next week.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.